r/AskReddit by Reddit. Wedding shop workers, what are your worst Bridezilla stories? Retired master seamstress checking in. Not Bridezilla but Momzilla. I was making her daughter a custom bias cut gown and had limited fitting time because the bride lived one state over. Now bias cut gowns are the devil to begin with. We, mom and I, would work on details between fittings. I would say our working relationship got very frosty. Each time the bride came for a fitting she lost weight. Tape measures don't lie, and she was not a big girl to begin with. Mom would scream that her daughter did not lose any weight. After the third fitting, third fight and the third rebuild of a very complicated gown, I finished it and told them to take the gown and do what they wanted with it. It was gorgeous but hung loose. The girl lost over 3 inches over the course of 7 to 8 weeks. I lost hours of my life and the $sign for the work. The deposit took care of the materials, $140 per yard silk, Venice lace, so there is that. If the mom was that way I wouldn't be surprised she was losing weight due to the stress of the wedding. Right? The bride was a sweetheart actually. Photographer. During more than a dozen years in this business, I've had almost nothing but fantastic clients, real sweethearts, and consider myself lucky. The exception was a New York bride who was annoyed because it rained cats and dogs on her wedding day. Not sure if she understood I wasn't in charge of making the weather. She had wanted to take golf carts to the beach with the wedding party to do fun photos there, but that clearly didn't happen. Her foul mood spoiled a bit of the wedding. Good thing everyone else still appeared to be having a good time regardless. She managed to stay, barely, polite to her vendors, but weeks later unleashed on me because I had delivered, among I don't know how many hundreds of photos, 2 shots of the DJ. She calculated that those photos, based on my fee, had cost her $14 IRC, and was almost comically displeased about that. She also flipped her wig because she told me angrily she'd observed me eating a few canapes during the reception and at $3 a piece. How did I not understand those were not intended for the hired help? I offered to refund her $23 and inquired where she wanted me to send the check. At that point she calmed down a bit, possibly realizing how ridiculous she was being, and then volunteered that maybe she was being a bit irrational at the moment because she was pregnant. Of course, I offered my congratulations. She grudgingly told me to keep the check. I did put a baby gift, a silver apple, in the mail to her a few weeks later. I hope she and her husband and the baby lived happily ever after. Bridal consultant here. My most memorable appointment was a party that showed up completely pooped to the wind hammered. It wasn't unusual for bridal parties to have a little tailgate style party in our parking lot before coming into our store. Often they'd have mimosas or a shot or two to loosen up before the scary gown search. This party must have finished a full bottle of whiskey between the 5 of them. They didn't appear too sloppy when we first got started, but about half an hour into the appointment it was pretty obvious that they were way too drunk to be in the setting they were in. I had to prop the bride up with her nose in the corner of her fitting room to lace her corsets because she couldn't stand, and each time we stepped out onto the stage the bridesmaids would scream, Beatlemania style, until they were red in the face. Eventually my manager came to me and said, very sternly, sell this girl and get them out of here. The appointment ended when she fell for a gown $700 over budget. Her drunkest bridesmaids wiped her own credit card to cover it, and then one of them, not sure which, sprayed a brown bodily fluid of some kind over our entire talit. I'm always late to the party for these, but here goes. I was the DJ for a wedding where the bride, from a very wealthy family, was not expected to live past childhood. Imagine, if you will, a girl who was raised having never heard the word no. Her entire childhood was one big make-a-wish TM. She had a zest for life. She loved to dance, so much so that her parents were building her a giant lake house with, I guess a ballroom, but more like a disco club, a room just for dancing. She was marrying a man several years her senior that she met at a dance class. He was just like a character out of a movie that charms older women and then steals their fortunes, except this was a much younger woman. The request list for the wedding reception was a lot of early 90s high energy dance music. After dinner, and I've done this hundreds of times, dancing starts. I decided to kick off dancing with the bride's favorite song, Technotronic, Pump Up the Jam. Until this moment, I had nothing but pleasant interactions with this woman who genuinely seemed to appreciate life for how precious it truly is. Before the beat could even drop, she was running over to me screaming, tearing into me for ruining her wedding. It was a spectacle and the guests watched in horror as she berated me. She wasn't ready to dance yet, and I was playing the song that she was most looking forward to dancing to on her wedding day. I was forced to stop the song cold and the only sound was her screaming as I fumbled to find some cocktail music to throw on until she was ready to dance. At the end of the night most brides come up and hug me and thank me for a wonderful night. I didn't get so much as an icy stare. It was as I didn't even exist to her anymore. Her father came up and gave me a $400 gratuity. His words offered but a simple apology, but you could tell they carried the weight of the monster he'd created. Photographer here. The couple opted for an outdoor wedding with no weather backup option, and, lo and behold, it started pouring literally 5 minutes before the ceremony. The guests and groom ran for cover under the reception tent. After it didn't let up, the groom made a mad dash to the door of the RV the bride was getting ready in, because she nor any of the bridesmaids were answering their phones. She made the poor guy stand outside in the pouring rain while she screamed and cussed that she was not getting married under the tent and everyone would just have to wait until it stopped raining. This was the middle of July, so even the rain was hot and sticky, and there were a lot of elderly family members with health issues in attendance sitting in 80-degree heat for over an hour. The cake had also started melting. I honestly wasn't sure if the wedding was going to happen at one point, but it eventually stopped raining, and the bride married her soaked groom and ate wedding cake soup. My experience with the Bridezilla happened at my great aunt's house. She has a private lake and a lovely setup for a small, country-style outdoor wedding. The mother of the groom was a close friend of hers, so my aunt was happy to open up her home for the event. I got the feeling leading up to the wedding that the groom's family didn't care much for the bride, and after witnessing her throwing a temper tantrum over the placement of the food table because it started to rain, I kinda started to see why. Listening to the way she talked to everyone around her appalled me. She was a complete spoiled brat and really was lucky that everyone didn't just leave the wedding completely. I wouldn't have blamed them a bit. However, the worst was the fact that she decided that she wanted her bridesmaids to walk barefoot in the muddy wet grass after she had them buy new boots to wear specifically with their dresses. Anyone who has ever bought cowboy boots knows that they are upwards of $100, and she picked out pink ones to match their pink dresses. All 5 of the bridesmaids had to buy these boots on top of whatever they had to pay for the dress. And she decides 10 minutes before the wedding starts that she doesn't want them to wear them. Of course, everyone complies with her and pacifies her and the wedding goes well. Although it got pretty tense during the speak now or forever hold your peace part. Not surprised to hear that the marriage didn't make it to 6 months. She was the most selfish person I've ever met. I'm convinced that she didn't want to get married at all, just wanted all the attention on her. The Groomzilla's count. I used to work as a bridal registry consultant for a big department store. I had several nightmare couples and family members, but I always think of this guy. The bride was pleasant enough and very polite. She expressed great excitement when discussing the plans for the wedding and the groom just seemed bored. She was very excited to pick out fine china and the groom snapped. He yelled at her and called her an idiot and told her that there's no need for expensive things like that. He said we would never use it, and she insisted that she will find reasons to use it so it won't go to waste. She also said that her family insisted on her picking a pattern and they would all chip in to get the set. She was nice enough and patient enough with this jerk that she kept asking him what he liked. The groom didn't like anything and kept yelling at her and told her that she's wasting his time and that she was stupid. He kept insisting that she was an idiot and it was getting really uncomfortable. I tried to intervene as much as I could, but this groom was complete scum. Eventually he stormed off and I tried to keep everything light-hearted and happy for the bride. I hope she didn't go through with that wedding. I've never seen a Bridezilla firsthand, but I just read a story from someone on Quora who said that she and another woman used to be sorority sisters with this girl. A few years after they all graduated, the girl called and let them know she was getting married and that the wedding would be soon. She said that, even though they couldn't be bridesmaids, they could stay over with her the night and day before and attend the wedding as well. They didn't think it was weird at first. They thought maybe the bride felt bad and wanted some special time with them. Come to find out, once they got to her house, the mom of the bride just yelled at them and told them to do little tasks and chores for the wedding, including preparing the bride and doing her makeup. During the wedding, the mom asked to meet the two of them in the kitchen of the venue and proceeded to tell them to start washing dishes. The woman's friend threw a dish on the floor and they left. They haven't talked to the bride or awful bride mom since. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comment section below.